initial video review of the Garmin Epix Gen 2. We've had it a couple months. We've tested it extensively in New Hampshire and in the mountains of Utah. So ahead of our multi-tester written review, here are some initial thoughts and features. Garmin sent us the Epix 2 Generation 2 for testing. It features an AMOLED screen, 70 grams, and that screen really outperforms in battery life any AMOLED screen and really gets very close to your transreflective. It has very consistent legibility in all light conditions, both sunny and also indoors. And it is especially strong when you have backlit sun behind you, as you can see here, compared to the Vertix 2 from Coros. Now we're going to take a closer look at the widgets or the glances and some of the other features. Let's take a look at the Epix 2 Generation 2 from Garmin. It's in what's called always on mode. So now we can kind of wake it up, and I'll talk to you a bit later about the battery life effect. I have it set 4 seconds, but you can also set it to 8. Off of always on to the screen, and quite an effect. I'm seeing 6 to 9 days of battery life in with the always on, and 17 to 20 days if you turn it off. And basically, the amount of time it takes to wake up is almost identical. You'll just sort of have some green or other watch face views here when you leave it on. And outside, you really can't see it while you're running in always on. So I definitely turn it off. And what I get turning it off I'm in normal mode for all these battery amounts I'm going to test. I had 37% on the meter when I show you this. So that's what's called normal. There's also extended. And then there's finally, there's max, and then there's max accuracy, which is handy in canyons or around cities. In normal mode outside with GPS running, I get up to 25 hours of battery life, which is amazing for this very high resolution AMOLED screen, versus not much more than 16 if I leave always on. So let's take a look at a few of the widgets. Now, of course, we also have in this 70-gram watch the titanium bezel and a fairly thin profile. It's comfortable to wear. I do note a bit of biting of this button while using it for sleep, but generally it's very comfortable to wear. Now it does have a touch screen, unlike what you're familiar with in the high-end Garmins. So you can scroll your glances top down like this, that's the bottom, or you can go bottom up. Of course, you can also use the buttons to navigate your glances. I think the glances are really neat. So let's look at a few of them. Of course, you got the weather. And we've got a forecast. Sometimes I find the weather doesn't update as frequently as I'd like. You've got your sunset and sunrise, very cool. You've got a compass. And if I move it, you can see the compass and a barometer. The altimeter, I would say, is accurate. We're at about 34 feet above sea level here. Then, of course, you got your kind of performance condition. And I'm doing pretty good. You can see it's predicting a 5K time. Not sure I could actually achieve that. Then we can move on to my training status, yesterday's run, and all the histories. So here's our heart rate data. Last 4 hours, 7-day average. And here's Garmin's body battery metric. So what it's doing is it's measuring kind of my overall recovery. I'm at a plus 42 since my run yesterday, still at a minus 19. And it also shows it with stress. I can't believe I was stressed out. It's only a Saturday, but a few little spikes of stress. And then we're going to move on. Now, sleep is interesting. That's actually my, that's the pulse ox. Here's the sleep. Had a long and calm sleep. I don't find the Garmin sleep metrics as useful as the polars, which kind of sets the standard for me. But it's not bad. The polar gives you kind of a more, scores your sleep by not only the quality and quantity as here, but also your ANS, autonomic nervous system, which is things like your heart rate variability, beat-to-beat interval, resting heart rate, and that over 28 days. So it compares to 28 days. I find it a bit more useful, but this is certainly perfectly adequate. There's the pulse ox measured at the 28th. The watch will also suggest workouts, anaerobic for today. It's looking like it wants me to do 9 times 1 minute at 6:55 pace for a total of 58 minutes. Pretty cool. Don't usually follow that, but I should. Then we've got a calendar, notifications, all kinds of notifications, music control, my intensity minutes for the week. I could do a health update. And here we have altitude acclimatization. It's 3,772 feet. You recall I was actually at 30 feet. Well, I was up at altitude and got back 2 weeks ago at 6,800 feet. So the effect of the altitude acclimatization is dropping, as you can see here on the graph. Quite useful. It took me, I've had the watch a couple months, and it took me about a week and a half to 2 weeks to get to the 6,800 feet to get fully acclimatized. So those are your widgets. And of course, you can also navigate everything using, as you kind of expect with Garmin, by using the buttons on the side. Very nice. Works well. And in the workout, I use everything on the button. Now, we're going to exit out using the button, as usual with Garmin. Now, this screen, an amazing screen here. Its resolution is 416 by 416 pixels. So your latest Phoenix 7 is only at 260 by 260. A watch such as the Suunto S7 is a bit higher resolution at 454 by 454, but it uses its battery life, instead of being 17 to 20 days, is only a couple days really in resting rate, and its hours are barely 10, and here we easily hit 16 to 25, so just not as practical from a workout standpoint. Now, what does this screen do for us? Well, I'm going to show you some pictures, but outside in bright sunlight. And here we're showing it at about 9,200 feet, or almost 3,000 meters at high altitude. In most conditions, it outperforms watches such as the Phoenix or the Coros Vertix 2 with their transreflective screens, because you really have to tilt them in the right direction to capture the light. And as such, I'm going to go into the workout kind of mode. As such, you have a much more consistent viewing of the screen. And you see we picked up the GPS indoors here. You have a much more consistent viewing of the screen with this watch than any other watch I've tried. So for example, in dim light, because it's if you will, backlit by bulbs, you always have a clear view. It doesn't get dim, doesn't have sort of a backlighting that's kind of mushy. You also, if you have sun at your back, very bright sun, you won't see as much on a lower resolution transreflective screen, as here we have 4 data fields for our Epix and only 2 for the Vertix 2. You'll get a consistent view. And of course, in the dark, there's, it's clearly going to outperform it. Now, to save the battery life with the always on, what you're going to see is about a second for it to light up, with the always on off. And it's really about the same with always on. So you're well worth leaving it off unless you want kind of that look indoors. In our written review, I'm going to cover the stamina. It's a mixed bag. Seems to work extremely well. Road running at sea level, not as well. Trail running. These are some of the screens I set up. Of course, there's almost an infinite number of screens you can set up on the watch. And of course, you can control your music. And of course, we can also look at the mapping here. So let's go into the map. I'll go back out here. Not sure I have it loaded in road running. We're going to go to the options. We're going to go up. We're going to can load courses, of course. Here we can change the power modes. Right now I'm on multi, so that's all satellite networks. You can extend that with using just GPS. There's kind of an ultra track mode, and max accuracy is multi-satellite plus kind of multi-frequency, and there's even a jacket mode. So let's move back here to navigation. I find the maps pretty darn decent, not as nice as on the S7 with the Komoot, but pretty darn good. We're gonna go down here. These are the various options. We're going to use the map. And there you can see where I'm located here in Rye, New Hampshire. And you can move around with your finger. You can zoom in using the buttons. It's zooming in. So let's go to the ocean. Pretty nice. That resolution at 416 and 416 really, really helps the visibility. So the heart rate sensing, a little bit about that. Not sure if it's software or hardware, but it's been outstanding. No kind of early spikes, very consistent, both trail running and road running, much improved. Doesn't mean you won't have issues if you're running super fast or bounding or gripping, but definitely now much more reliable than I can remember. Our band is, I think it's 22 millimeters, and of course you can change it. GPS accuracy has been outstanding with acquisition in just a couple seconds. Here's my recent half marathon, and look how consistent the wrist heart rate was on a fairly cool day with short sleeves. Excellent. At 70 grams, this is really a nice, light, beautiful watch, and I'm very much enjoying running with it. It has every other feature that Garmin has, so you know, you can count on all those, the performance condition, all the data metrics, all the data fields, the health snapshots, all that stuff, multi-sport, of course. The highlights really are the screen legibility with an AMOLED screen, far superior to any AMOLED watch. Of course, it isn't a platform watch with constant notifications from apps and so on and so forth. But for the athlete, it has everything you need for as a everyday smartwatch, your notifications, your music control, etc. Plus, of course, all the monitoring. So screen legibility, great. Battery life, decently lightweight at 70 grams in the titanium here. And for me, the key element is that legibility in really all light conditions. Pretty darn consistent everywhere I've been. And battery life that doesn't have me thinking I need to charge every other day or something like that. So those are the big benefits. Of course, it comes at a price. The Epix 2, Generation 2 is in the titanium is $1,000, and the steel, which weighs more, it's $900. So we're going to have a full multi-tester review with lots and lots of written details real soon here on RoadTrailRun. But that's the Garmin Epix Gen 2, a really spectacular watch. Every feature, the Phoenix, plus an incredible screen that really sets the bar very high. while giving you battery life that really would compare essentially to what you would have gotten a couple years ago in a non-AMOLED watch. So totally adequate for most uses. Thank you very much for watching Road Trail Run. Have a great run.